for coming on board for this month's Pass the Baton for the month of January. Actually, yeah, the month of January, which is our first one for the year 2026. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's just have a profile read and then we can make a start. So, Dr. Wonola Akintola, I love to say how I met people, how I've met somebody. I think it's always good to just share stories so that people know where we're coming from. So, I think I attended, I can't remember what it's called. What is it called?
The Swaporama.
What did you call it?
Swaporama.
Okay, whatever she said. But what it means is that if you've got clothes, shoes, jewelries, new things that you've got and you haven't used at least they say in a year, you need to bring it and let's all look at it together. So we all shuffle through and see what I can take from this person, what this person can take from me. And it was so lovely. It was so good. I didn't think it would be that lovely. It was I think it is actually my second time. But I think this one was so good. Like it felt like I was in a market. That was how I felt because there was just so much to choose from. And obviously, you need to network. It doesn't matter where you are. That's a tip for someone. It doesn't matter where you are. Please just try to leave your corner. Try to, talk to somebody else and see. You never know how life can bring you to the person that you actually need. That person you need may just be round where you are. So yeah, we just got talking. And obviously, she shared what she's doing. I shared what I was doing. And at that moment, I said to her that, no, you need to come and pass the baton. That was like from last year, July,
Yeah.
that we've been trying to, but yeah, so this is the right moment. Let me say, this is just the right moment. So, Dr. Wonola Akintola is the founder of Freedom Talks Live, a platform dedicated to sparkling healing, spreading freedom. I love that. Through our work, she equips individuals, families, and communities with practical frameworks to embrace emotional freedom, build resilience, and purposeful living. She brings depth and credibility to this work through her lived experiences, including training as a medical doctor and specializing as a child and adolescent psychiatrist and neurodevelopmental consultant, integrating neuroscience, trauma informed insights, emotional coaching, and Christ centered through truths in a compassionate, accessible, and liberating way. At the heart of Wonola's work is a simple conviction: emotional freedom is not about suppressing feelings or striving for perfection, but about understanding the mind and emotions and responding with clarity, courage, and grace. And if you know that, as women, or should I even say as human beings, this is one part of our lives that, we don't really, should I say, go into, we're not really in depth with our emotions. And we must understand that, we have our body, our soul, and our spirit. And obviously, all of these three needs to thrive in order for us to get to wherever, God has proposed us to get to. And none should really interfere with one another. We should be able to manage it. We should be able to control it, but more so we should be able to, should I say, embrace it as well. We should be able to embrace it. And that's why we're here tonight. Please do. Thank you. That's our connector. Who is 60,
Yeah.
by the way? Does she look 60? No, I don't think so. I have a lot of people saying, how can she be 60? Welcome, Sister Tokwe. God bless you. So, yes, that's why we're here tonight. And please, if you have questions, do feel free. Or if you want to inbox me your questions as well, please do it. Or you can email passthebaton@yahoo.com. So, yes, thank you so much, Dr. Wonola. Appreciate you, ma. And yes, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Pastor Bumi, for that introduction. And honestly, it was a pleasure meeting you. And I have to say thank you as well to Sister Tokwe for organizing that. It's amazing how one thing leads to another just because we say yes to the right thing. And if it wasn't for that swaporama, it was my first ever. I've never been for one. I wouldn't have met you. And more than the swapping clothes as well, it was heart connecting. So that was a big blessing. So thank you. And thank you to everyone as well who's made the time to be here today to look at that area of our lives that we can so easily disregard. So without taking too much of our time, because I know well, it's important to respect our time. I will share my slides in a minute, but more than sharing the slides, it's not meant to be an information dumping session. It's more about hearts connecting, iron sharpening iron. And that's one of the things we do on Freedom Talks, sharing stories, sparking healing, spreading freedom. And people don't have to say what they don't want to say. Let's make it a comfortable space and a safe space where what is shared here stays here, and we can ask any questions. And if there's anything you feel that's too sensitive as well, please, you can share it behind the scenes and speak to someone after the session. So without much ado, I will share my slides. And please, I need a big favor. Let's feel free to engage as best as we can. That's how we get the best out of the sessions. Please let me know when you can see my slides.
Yes, we can.
Fantastic, thank you. So that's my name, and I advocate for emotional freedom, because if we're not emotionally free, it just hampers every area of our lives. And what then people might say, what is emotional freedom? Essentially, it is taking charge of our emotions instead of our emotions being in charge of us. And that's what we talk about on Freedom Talks on a monthly basis. Right. Question. Everybody feel free to answer. How many times have you seen your face? Some people more than others. We can put it in the chat box. We can feel free to shout it out. How many times have we seen our faces?
Unless it's in the mirror, never.
Okay, one person says never. Anybody else? Are there any answers in the chat box?
Yes, there are answers. People are saying all the time, countless times, 5 times, somebody says.
Okay.
And I've said all the time since I've known me.
Okay, so you've seen your face all the time. Some people have said countless time. The first response,
Regularly.
Regularly. But the first response we had, please, who said that?
Which one?
Somebody said never.
It was Claire.
Right, yes. Does everyone agree that we've never seen our faces?
Yes.
Yeah, we've only seen the reflection. And we give it so much attention. We invest in facials, do all sorts, we're checking it constantly, but we've never seen our faces. But there are other aspects of our lives as well that we've never seen, and we need to give attention to. And that's our whole persona, our being. So there's our face, but what about our person? And we hear people say, oh, I smell a rat. It's not with our physical noses or our physical senses. Oh, so we say, taste and see that the Lord is good. It's not the same way we'll taste jollof rice. And you say, oh, somebody suffered a heartbreak. Was it the physical heart that broke? Or let's walk hand in hand. Working hand in hand and collaborating is not physical hand. So there's a whole person behind the scenes that needs attention. And when people say things like, oh, heartbreak, or somebody has a heavy heart, who weighed it to know that it's heavy? But our body feels what's inside. So the tangible registers what happens in the intangible realm. And that's the same thing with our emotions. We don't see the emotions, we don't see the engineering of the emotions, but our body feels it. And when our body feels a certain way, it then impacts our lives. So I just thought I'd start with that so we can get a foundation of where we're going. And today we'll look at what is an emotional wound. So just like the physical body can smell, and we talked about that person behind the scenes, our real person, we can smell a rat. I think there's something fishy there. The whole mind, the same way that person can get wounded. And then we talk about emotional wounds. So we'll look at what an emotional wound is. And specifically in women, why is it kind of different for women and deeply so? What's the impact of emotional wounds? And we will not live without hope. We'll move from wounds to wisdom. Because if there's a wound in the physical, what do? We look for ways for it to heal, because it can hinder us from being the best version of ourselves, from fulfilling our unique potential. So if anyone would like to guess from everything we've said so far, what is an emotional wound?
Please do feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share.
And there's no answer that is irrelevant. It just helps us when we say what we think.
Sad.
Sorry?
Something that makes you sad or cry.
Thank you. So it has an impact to the point where you could cry because you're sad, and it could manifest in different ways. So if we look at it as we go along as two parallels, the same way things register on the physical body where it could make us sad, it could register on our minds too and make us sad. Is there anything in the chat box?
So there's just, indeed, a person may go through his or her entire life without ever stopping to know him or herself, and unhealed hurts.
Yeah. Thank you. And that's so true. On just the same way, let's just, as we go along, let's look at it as two parallels. The same way people can have wounds and not physical wounds and not address it till they die. The same way we can have emotional wounds and not address it. But what happens to us when we don't address those wounds? And we'll look at that as we go along. An emotional wound is a deep, lasting psychological injury. When it says psychological, it means mind-related, caused by painful, often unexpected experiences like trauma, abuse, neglect, or betrayal. And at this point, I'd like to clarify, trauma is not the injury. Trauma is what happens inside us because of what has happened outside. The changes inside that people don't see, the invisible wounds. And the emotional wounds, what we were seeking is to understand those invisible burdens that shape our lives. Like someone pointed out, said, it may carry until the whole of a lifetime, from childhood through adulthood, and the journey towards healing and wholeness is what we're hoping to get to at the end of this session. So they're hidden injuries. We see everybody outside, everybody looking good. And sometimes you might see someone and you think this behavior is out of character. If there was a broken leg, we would appreciate it that, oh, that's why this person is not walking properly. But as we said, we're looking at a whole person that is invisible, just like the parallel to the physical. Now, if we see behavior that doesn't add up to what we expect, could it be that something is broken? Could it be the psychological leg or the psychological arm? That unseen man. So until we get that understanding, we may not even understand ourselves, because just like we haven't seen our faces, we haven't seen ourselves. What we see is the outward manifestations of the impact of our genetic predisposition, our experiences, and the environment we're in. And that's why you might see people's behavior might change when you put them in a different environment. Or the same thing can happen to 10 people and you get different reactions. Some people might fight, defend themselves. Another person might hide, because our wiring is so different. Hence the need to look behind the surface. And I always say, understand means going under the stand to look beneath, to understand ourselves. Part of it is understanding our emotions. So because we're looking at women in particular, we'll start from the foundation. And a psychologist talked about, a trauma expert to be precise, that from birth, societal expectations and generational trauma, it places a burden on women. you hear some societies talk about the girl child, the boy child. What's being expected from a female child in literally every culture is different. You might hear things in even to a toddler, or when you get to your husband's house, or when you get married. It's as we from birth, the programming is there, even from the way the child is dressed, and of course, naturally so, a woman is different from a man, and yes, there will be biological differences, but it's the cultural expectations. I remember when I was serving in the East, in the mornings, I would see girls going, honestly, in droves going to school, not one male. Apparently, the culture in that particular area was because the men just needed to learn how to trade and make money. Because when you make your money, you can have any girl you want. And you remember another story, a family friend whose siblings were all academicians. There's a brother who's in top rank in the army, but their dad never sent the women and the females to school. So you might find it shocking when you see the family, the men highly educated, top rank in society, and the females can't even communicate in simple English, can't read, can't write, because right from birth, the way the women were treated, and we may say that those are extremes, but it comes in very subtle ways. So right from the foundation, that's when the layers are being set in the brain, the connections, how you think, what you expect from life. And as life goes on, what tends to happen, unfortunately, is a subtle weight of unworthiness. I'm not good enough until I do what a man can do, until I achieve so much. And when that doesn't happen, it's the invisible burden that people carry and that women carry. And when that doesn't happen, there's disappointment, all kinds of emotions. One of the things we talked about years ago on Freedom Talks was when somebody said, what about us that we have not been taught to label our emotions? Because you're just taught to get on with life and nobody really talks about emotions, how you feel. It's like if there's a bereavement in the family, for instance, whoever wonders how the children are processing this? Or even the beliefs that surround the event. So emotions are things that in some cultural settings, a significant number, it's not addressed. And it continues to impact life. So right from the very first breath, it's like a societal inheritance, cultural inheritance that shapes the brain. And how we think affects how the brain is wired. What we think about more is what gets stronger. The connections that get stronger. What we think about less, the connections are not so strong. So you could think about it like loops of thread. The more you repeat that thought pattern, the stronger that thinking pattern gets. And another story that comes to mind is a friend who decided to change her name. She preferred a name that sounded more positive. And after she changed her name, when people called her, she wouldn't answer because she wasn't used to it yet. But as she heard it over and over and over and over, it became reality. And the same thing with anything good or bad. That's what happens in our brain. The wiring gets more solid, gets stronger or weaker. Please, is there anything in the chat box?
Yes, someone just agreed with you. That's the concept of neural pathways.
Absolutely. And that's neuroplasticity. So it's the rewiring. And so if you don't use it, you lose it. It gets weaker. But the more you do it, the more you reinforce it. And then the significant thing is to remember this applies to both positive beliefs or negative beliefs. What we do more of gets stronger. And if we carry those expectations unhealthy through the world, and the weight of unworthiness, I'm not good enough till I have so many qualifications, what do we start to bury? Emotions of unworthiness. What do we start to bury? We start to bury ourselves while living. If I'm not married, I'm not good enough. If I'm a single parent, I can't say I'm not a Mrs. If I don't have GCSEs, so many things. I mean, some are, yes, applicable to men as well, to every human being. It just shows how culture, and if in this scenario now, particularly for women. So we might look at what expectations do we find as women that have affected us negatively. Is there anything anyone recalls that comes to mind that as a woman, it may be for ourselves, it may be for other people we know, that we feel has affected us or can affect a woman negatively?
I'll say both sexes, either female or male. It's the way your parents or family view you and the way they address you, that can also affect.
Thank you. 100%. Our environment, what we hear. And when you talk about parents in particular, that's the issue with the primary caregiver. The person who's meant to give you security and safety is the one who might be saying negative things. And that's not because they are bad parents, but that's because that's what they know as well. It looks like there's some more things in the chat box.
Yes, physical, emotional abuse. When a woman speaks up for herself, she is labeled. Then the societal perception and definition of beauty is a burden on women for sure.
Thank you. It's so true. Exactly. And now we're getting lots of our young people. I mean, not even the young ones alone, going to Turkey to do all kinds of things because you want to look a certain way. I mean, I know it's not only Turkey they go to, but all this body reshaping and doing different things because of acceptance. I want a bigger bum. I want my breast to be 10 times the size because of acceptance. But is that who we are? So that's registering on the body because of the wound on the inside that makes us feel not enough. And because as someone just mentioned, I'm sorry I keep saying someone because I can't see the names. I'm so sorry.
Dr. Wano, I have one more person. It may just be to what you're about to share. Many times I've internalized my parents' perspective of me and African women expectation of women in marriage as well.
Thank you so much. And those are the things that we should openly share. Another thing I would say is when we talk about these things, it loses its power. Remember what I said earlier about emotional freedom. It's us being in charge, not the emotion taking hold of us. And it's like if a child, for instance, steals sweets from or takes cookie from the cookie jar, and shame and guilt is pursuing the child all over the house, you know. The minute the child says, "Mommy, this is what I did," what happens? Freedom. So when we talk about, you know what, the expectation placed on me at work is what is, I've been trying to live up to it. It's killing me, but I don't feel good enough. And sometimes it's difficult to articulate it. So writing it is another thing, because as you're writing it, you're being truthful. You're letting it out. You're breaking that chain. The power of shame is when we hold it in, it's in secrecy. But when we say, this is what happened, what can anybody do about it? That's it. It's the shame is broken. The emotional chain is broken. So that's the first step. And I know, of course, it's not everywhere we can talk about things. It's got to be a safe space as well. And it's also thinking, what are people going to do with it? But it's starting from giving ourselves permission to be free. Was there anything else?
Yes, just trying to read it.
Someone
says that when it boils down to is what we ourselves have given our agency to others, to the society, to the church.
Yeah. As in giving others permission to be in control of us.
Yes,
absolutely.
of lives,
yeah. And that's the word permission. Another question we always ask is, who is in the driving seat of your life? Is it fear of people's opinion? That's why we look at emotions again. Is it anxiety? Is it betrayal? Because somebody has betrayed me, I will never trust again. And then that becomes the defining factor as we journey in life. So asking ourselves truthful questions and being honest. So another impact is looking at generational pain, mother wounds. And that's why we talk about carers, where the primary caregiver, I call it when carers become carers. The person that you should feel secure with, the world is harsh. Our parents or primary caregiver are the ones we should be able to run to. But when we're terrified of them, where then is safety? And it's not uncommon that you find children, for instance, going into gangs because that's where they feel accepted. That's where they have a sense of belonging, a connection. And what we see sometimes when parents show abusive behavior, it's also because of what they have not resolved. I will share an article. I'll send it to you, Pastor Bumi, when we finish. The question was generational curse or generational trauma. Because sometimes they'll say history is repeating itself. It's a curse. But the question is it unresolved trauma? Nobody has asked the question, why is this behavior continuing? And because of that, the pattern repeats itself because we learn from our carers. So they speak in a certain way, it's abusive. We then do the same thing with our children. And then the children then respond differently or do the same thing to their own children, even though they recognize it's wrong, and the pattern continues. So yes, when we look at curses, we talk about patterns, but it's the same thing with trauma. And until we speak the truth, this is what it is, this is where it's coming from, it's not broken, right? Should I continue or is there anything else?
So just seeking people's validation is a profound act of self-sabotage.
Absolutely. I posted that yesterday, fear of others' opinion. I call it fool. I don't know if it's a registered thing already, but it's that silent voice that's saying you're not good enough. So I want validation. I want acceptance. We're not made to walk this world alone. And when the place where we're supposed to be accepted, what we find is rejection. The mind naturally seeks safety. If the mind perceives a threat, like we said, we're looking at the mind as a person. If you perceive a threat somewhere, where would you go? You wouldn't stay where that threat is. And if for any reason you had to stay, you would put measures in place. So the mind will devise ways of protecting itself. So generational pain, emotional pain stemming from unmet childhood needs, safety, security, a sense of belonging. If those are not absent, the mind devises ways of coping. Common signs you might find as the person gets older: difficulty setting boundaries, saying yes to everybody, people pleasing. Perfectionism, it's not good enough because when I was young, everything I did was not good enough. So the person continues that. Fear of failure, fear of abandonment. So holding on to an abusive relationship because abandonment feels scary. Emotional numbness. You might devise ways of coping. You're with friends, but you can't really be yourself. And those are ways that the mind devises to cope. And we go through life, we know I could have better relationships. It's not just talking about marital or romantic, even friend to friend with our female peers, even with siblings, where there's been fractured emotions or fractured experiences, healthy experiences have been disrupted. That's what we get. Emotions come to defend us. Emotions are signals. And I'll ask a question again, if we are okay to put it in the chat box. Are emotions good or bad? And if anyone wants to say, that's fine.
Good.
Okay. Why do you say good?
Because it can heal you,
Okay.
and healing is something good, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Can I take you on this one? Is there any bad emotion?
Of course.
Okay. Any other takers? And thank you. This is what helps all of us as we, just feel free to say what it is. Okay. Any other takers? Is there any
I've got
bad
lots on
emotion?
the platform. People saying good and can be bad, but
Okay.
don't keep it in and fester.
Mhm.
Can be either depending on how it's managed.
Okay.
Emotions are the soul's expression. It could be good or bad.
Okay. Can I say, will everybody agree on one thing? Or let me, if I say there's no bad emotion, would it make sense?
No.
Okay. Okay. Emotions come as a response to things that have happened in our lives or in our hearts. The experiences we have, they're set to protect us. Like if we look at emotions as signals, but the signals might be different for all of us. So emotions in themselves are not bad. It's how we process it. And the way sorry?
Emotion is information.
Absolutely. Emotion is information, it is data, they are signals, and they are set to protect us. So you might feel angry when something happens. It's so that you can do something about it. Is anxiety bad? People might say anxiety is not good. But if we were not anxious, would we go to work? If we knew that if we don't go, we won't get paid and you need the money. So anxiety is good. It would help us do the right thing. It's how we process it. And if we don't process it right, then it will take over our lives. And that's why when they talk about anxiety, talk about anxiety disorder. Is joy good? We will say yes. But if the person is now overly excited and joyful and in a board meeting starts singing, there's a problem. So it's how we process the emotion, we being in charge and not the emotion being in charge. But emotions are there and they will rise up depending on how we are programmed. So it's not the emotion that is the issue. It's the processing and the machinery behind the processing. Anybody agrees?
Yeah, Remy Cotton she
Okay,
me
someone's
zoom
having
to
another.
my
Let me just
Okay,
mute that
thank
person.
you. Right. So, unfortunately, what we then also find is mothers often unconsciously repeat their own unhealed trauma, passing it on, and then it becomes an invisible legacy, a traumatic legacy. Using abusive words, for instance, it could happen in different forms, or someone who's been hurt and then just goes into so many abusive relationships. And then you find out that's what the child learns, because maybe as the child was growing up, there was no security in the house. And what the child learned was to seek security on healthy relationships. Anybody that says yes, anybody that is kind, and the child then becomes gullible, with the naivety of an absent-minded mother. And that's not judging parents or any of us. It's only saying that we do things as best we know how to, and with the wiring of our brains from our past experiences, our genetic predisposition, and whatever environment we have stayed in long enough to imbibe the values. So in some places, you find they believe there's nothing wrong with smoking, but it's bad to drink. Others will say it is okay. So everybody is shaped to a significant degree by the environment. And if we don't recognize the impact on our lives, we can't address it. So what we're saying essentially is trauma fundamentally rewires the brain. Remember what we said earlier, use it or lose it. Anything you do more of, you get better at. And because of trauma, healing can be a challenging journey. What somebody will recover from, maybe somebody said, oh, get on with it. That get on with it can be a big deal because of something that has happened. I mean, a story I remember as well, where they said this woman was in labor and the midwife kept going, relax, relax. Each time the midwife said relax, it was as if she freaked out. But that was because she had had a traumatic incident in the past where her captors, all they kept saying was relax. So her brain was wired to see relax as a trigger, as a threat to her safety. So even though the midwife was kind, and that's why we need to understand ourselves. And when we see behaviors that are unusual in others, I know I'm repeating myself in some things, but just to get it home again, when we see unusual behaviors in others, is to ask ourselves, there's something behind this. And be kind to ourselves and be kind to others, because everybody's journey is different. We don't know where they're coming from. Emotional wounds, as we said earlier, they're deep. They're not on the surface. We can't see them in the mirror. And it can be very complex with layers upon layers. Some of the things we'll find: low self-esteem, self-criticism, never feeling good enough. No matter how much degrees, I know people with like 5 MBAs and they're still looking to do more. Why? How many years do we have left? What exactly is the person trying to achieve? I'm not saying we should keep improving ourselves, but you look at some scenarios where it's not geared towards any direction. It's just, what else is there? What else is there? What else is there? It's like a desperate quest for significance. The question I ask is, if you were not significant enough, you can't even pursue any of those things in the first place. So we forget ourselves because of a wound, and we focus on so many things. Because what we're looking at is not the real person. We're seeing ourselves through the cracks of the injuries of the past, feeling not whole. So trauma distorts perception. Those wounds, it's like somebody going through life with a fractured limb. It's not been fixed. So like we said, just think about that man with fractured emotions, same thing. Or put it this way, a fractured mind. Because of this, can this person see themselves for who they are? So constantly there will be that desperation to adjust something, fix something. But it's not the body that needs fixing. It's the mind. To see that I am whole, I have value. It's not based on what the standards the world sets, because the world will set their standards and they change it again. So it's, can I accept myself? And the question again is, if I don't accept myself, why should anybody accept me? Because we might be sensing rejection, but then we could also be self-rejecting. So invisible chains can affect our lives in so many ways. Constant criticism, self-doubt, looking good but still not feeling good enough, being competent at work but desperate to really show that I can do this. So extra hours, late nights at work at the compromise of other things that are meaningful, healthy relationships at home. Secure bonds in childhood can lead to different types of relationship patterns later. If as a child you never learned to trust, or you were constantly being abandoned, as the person gets older, and that's another thing we're finding in, it's not a new thing, a child who's about to getting into relationships, mid-20s, you find that when it gets to the time of making a commitment, they back out. Because the mind has learned, anytime you get into a secure relationship, they abandon you. So to protect themselves from that abandonment, the minute it's time to make a commitment, back out. So what is the pattern we see in those we love or in ourselves that we feel is affecting our lives? Achievement paradox, we've talked about that. Achievements are not enough. But people do get over this. There is hope. There are women who've confronted the issues and they found confidence, deeper emotional connections, meaningful relationships. Where they've talked about generational curses, people have identified patterns and they've addressed it. And we can all move the same way from our wounds. There is nobody without a wound. The severity may be different, the layers may be deeper. And there might be wounds that are difficult to talk about. There might be wounds that we've also buried, covered with so many layers, and it's still there. Unfortunately, what happens, it only makes life more complicated. So emotional wounds, they're not defects. They're things we need to address. And healing, choosing, giving ourselves permission to heal, is reclaiming our identity, our worth, our joy. It's not the layers we put on top that matters. And it's also important to remember, for just like a physical wound, it requires patience, support. A wound is not going to heal in an instant. It's not going to heal in one session. And even when the wound has healed, you have wounds that have healed, and when it gets cold, you feel pain in that site again. So even when there's healing, from time to time, you might feel some jabs there. But one thing that helps is a healthy environment. And once again, I'll say thank you, Pastor Bumi, because it's environments that like this that enable and empower women to know that I have a voice. I can be heard. I can speak. Even if people don't agree, it's okay. It's okay to be me. So it's creating a safe space and holding hands together. Going on with healing, one thing that's important to remember is the brain does not know the difference between reality and imagination. Now, if I said, Pastor Vimi, guess what? Actually, somebody was going to pay £500 to attend this session. What went through your mind when I said that? Did you see the smile? Did anybody see her smile? And she's still smiling. And that's not because it's true, but immediately, because the brain processes it as a reward, the chemistry that is triggered is, like you said now, joy, a different emotion. So same thing in processing our healing, it's using our mind, the power of our imagination. You're not lying to your mind. You're telling the mind what it may not actually see in tangible terms, and getting the mind to feel it. We've talked about the intangible controlling the tangible. So it's the same thing. We now go to our thoughts. What are the thoughts behind the things that have happened in our lives? There is no emotion without a thought behind it. Every emotion is fueled by a thought. So what are the thoughts behind the things that have happened in our lives? Because that then determines the emotion, and then our emotions will fuel our feelings and then our behavior. So in breaking the cycle, it's what are the wounds? Before we even acknowledge the wound, before we can do it, we have to give ourselves permission. Setting boundaries. It's okay to say no. It is my life, I need to protect it. Engaging with necessary help, building a safe community. And all of this may sound like, where do I start? It's understanding, acknowledging the wounds with compassion. It's okay. Everybody has wounds. It's different for everyone. The root is different. And what I thought was, to make it simpler, and I'm just going to share, I use the WAVES framework, and I just put that together in the book recently. And the first thing is, what's your emotions? What exactly do I feel? Is it anger? Is it betrayal? You're not analyzing it. The first step is just watch. Is it giving me a headache? When we did this last, it was earlier this month, somebody then talked about how she had an issue at work. And I heard, as they were having the meeting, it was, what do you call this scenario now? Where people, redundancy, yes. The sprung redundancy on them after a period where they had been, everybody was literally on the verge of burnout. She said, for someone who doesn't usually speak, she said she didn't realize when it was like talking in flow, everybody just was, what's going on here? And at that point, what had happened, her emotions had overwhelmed her. She said after a while, she just went out and went for a walk. So asking, well, how did you feel when you were saying all those things? She said, my head was burning. it felt like exploding. So the what is, give yourself a chance. What am I feeling right now? And I remember when we were young, if you fell out with your sibling, they would say, oh, just drink this glass of water. And you're thinking, this is not, I don't want water. I want to talk about, just drink this water. Because what you're trying to do is getting your rational brain to take charge. You want that emotional overwhelm to settle. And where we've had wounds in the past, there will be times where we will be in environments or someone will say things that will trigger the pain again. What do you feel at those times? And the more we practice it, the better it gets. I feel angry. There's nothing wrong with anger. Remember what we said. There is no bad emotion, it's what we process it. So like the scenario I gave, she felt angry, intensely so, she felt betrayed. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm justified to be angry. And sometimes I may not even know why I'm angry. There might be reasons in my subconscious, but that means this emotion is telling me something. But what I now have to do is take charge. Now, validate. Yes, there's a valid reason. My past experiences, like I said again, you might not be you might not even be aware of where the triggers are coming from. And one of the things with acceptance as well is accepting your emotion for what it is so important, because if you suppress it, when it comes up, it might shock you when you don't expect. I always say it's like, I used to work in a constipation clinic, and sometimes we would actually have children vomiting poo. And I know it sounds disgusting, but what I learned from that is if you don't process something the right way, it will come out the wrong way. So accept the emotions, validate your experience. Given my life experience, there's a reason for this emotion. Now, the question is, what am I going to do with the way I feel? I might have to press the pause button and process this later. I might need to discuss with someone. I might need to see a therapist. Whatever decision you make when you engage those feelings, make sure you act on it. And that's where you steer. You're taking charge of the boat. I haven't just made a decision to see a therapist. I'm actually going to do it. If you stop at any of the steps, you won't get the full effect. So definitely go on to stay. And as you start, you might find it difficult, and you might just find out that you're just learning to watch. That's absolutely fine. It's the same thing sometimes for surgery. They'll say, you know what, we need you on a course of antibiotics for a while now. And then later they might say, oh, we'll need you to do an ECG. They're watching for the right time to go on to the next step. So let's be kind to ourselves. Wounds that have been there for years and have all kinds of things that have affected them will not go in one split second. So I will leave us with this final message, and we'll just go on. I don't know how much time is left, Pastor Me. I'm sorry if I've...
There's still time.
Oh, good. Okay. I always say, guard your heart above all else. You might not be able to do anything about other people's behavior, but guard your heart. That's where the emotions are being processed. And you know what I said earlier about, it's not the physical heart we're talking about now. It's the core of your being, your real heart, where there might have been heartbreak before. Now I want repair, I want healing. So I'm going to take care of it. So it determines the course of our lives. Things may have happened to that heart in the past, but moving forward, it can be better. And the last question is, if we're going to guard our heart, what are we going to use our imagination for? To take charge or let our emotions take charge? So I will stop my slides now. That's it. And please feel free to ask any questions, any contributions. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. So life experiences can be very enriching. So if anybody who has anything to share, please feel free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanu. Please, if you have anything at all to share, please kindly use the reaction button and you can ask your questions.
And I don't know if there's anything in the chat box either. Let's see.
Let me read that. Okay, so it's just a comment. Unless you define your worth, you leave room for others to devalue you.
Absolutely. And I'll say at that point as well that a diamond doesn't lose its worth because of what anybody calls it. A child can call it a stone, Other people might call it coal. Oh, some people might say it's glass. Guess what? It's diamond. It's not going to change its value. So if you recognize whatever anybody says, you know what? That's their business. Anybody can say anything. Most important is us knowing our worth.
Any question from anyone? Or maybe you can, okay, I've got a question. Claire says, love the session. Thank you. And the next question is, please, can you recommend a therapist for a young female adult who asked for one?
Okay. Yes.
I can signpost you. I think I know who this person is.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll
Thank
do
you.
that.
Yeah.
Any question from anyone? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can use the text for chats. Or maybe you have a contribution as well to what Dr. Wono has discussed tonight. Yes, the recommendation will be done, definitely. Okay, awesome session. Thank you.
Thank you, sis.
Okay, someone says, I wanted to ask in terms of breaking patterns. Or Dr. Wonu, if you actually have somebody, maybe, yeah, it's a good thing, just in case. Maybe somebody else would want it as well.
Okay.
You can, yeah, feel free.
I'll do in the chat box.
Yeah, please. So in terms of this question, I wanted to ask in terms of breaking patterns. How do you do that? Right. I'm not sure whether that question is full. But...
The question with patterns is, one, recognizing the pattern. And when you recognize the pattern, it's going to the roots. Because if you look at things like that, it might be, okay, thank you, Sister Chopper. We need the reminder to check in on ourselves to identify the root cause of any negative manifestation. Exactly, thank you. So it's always going to the root. So the thing with patterns is if you see it and you don't address it from the root, after a while it will come up again. So where did it all start? Did it start from having an abusive parent? Sometimes people will say things like, oh, maybe it was because there was a family breakup. No, more than that. That's superficial. What led to it? Was it because a member of the family had issues with anger? And if it was anger, what was the root of that anger? Was it because of issues with, what was it called? Validation. A child, let's say a dad who grew up in an environment where you're not good enough unless you go to uni. What happens? That gets passed down. Now, children then grow up feeling inadequate and not accepted. So there's already the seed of rejection. But the question is also, why did the father feel that way? So going to the roots, and that's where also things like family therapy comes in, because sometimes it's more than one issue. So you can have a seed. If you think about a thought as a seed, where were the words sown? And what fueled it? Because you can even have a seed that will never grow if it's not in the right environment. So who sowed the words? Where were the words sown? And what perpetuated it so that the environment kept it going? Pastor, it looks like you're saying something, but you're muted.
No, sorry, go on. After that, then I'll read the next one.
Yeah. So it's looking at what environment maintained the growth of that thing. So when we look at patterns, let's look at words and thoughts as the seeds that carry on and fuel it through generations. Because the thoughts become beliefs. That's another thing. It's not just one casual thought. It's the repeated thought. And that's why you find culture can be quite deep. And culture is not just societal culture, family culture. A family, for instance, that's taught that you should budget and manage your money. People might wonder, how come for generations they're doing so well? Because they don't even realize it. They've just maintained that culture because it's become a habit. So are we checking the practices that run through our generational lines? Oh, I just saw something in the chat board about I tried to criticize
I
myself.
think it's a continuation of that. I tend to criticize myself based on my parents' teaching and corrections over the years, but this only magnified and remains a burden even now in my adult life. I tend to criticize myself first, sternly, even feeling ashamed throughout the day. I do not necessarily know what would be the best way and the first step to take in correcting this. It's an issue as it has heavily influenced my perception of myself.
Do you know, I just think that is so powerful because that first step of identifying it is what's happened here. In that sentence that you've written, I tend to criticize myself. So you've recognized there's an issue here. I'm always saying negative things to myself. And it's also looking at what are the specific negative things you keep saying to yourself. And if you look at darkness, if you want darkness to go away, what do?
We put on the lights.
We put on the light. We're not focusing on the darkness. We're acknowledging the darkness. So the first thing you're looking at is exactly, so to turn the light on. So you've identified there is darkness. I keep criticizing myself. What's that doing to you? Is bashing you, pulling you down. So what do you need? What will pull you up? That's the antidote. But it's not going to happen once because you've been criticizing yourself most likely for years because since your parents were saying it. So that's at least a good few decades. Now, if we look at something that's been thinking about the brain like a reel of thread that's been tangled up repeatedly, you've wrapped it over and over and over. If you want to undo it, it has to be, it's not one action. You have to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And that's why people talk about affirmations. You keep saying it because what you hear repeatedly, your mind takes it in. It's like what I said about my friend. She gave herself a new name because she felt she wanted a positive name. And then people will call her. She's told people, this is my name. And then they will call her and she won't answer because it hasn't registered yet. So ideas, thoughts, repetition is what reinforces it, that registers it. So what is the new thing you want to then replace that negative thing with? Okay. Mr. Topper has something.
Yes, please. If everyone can just check the chat for the litmus test question.
Okay. Let me see.
It's something that...
Yes, and may I challenge us with this litmus test? But if the whole world were blind and deaf, who would you be? What is stopping you from being that person? Perhaps that would help you to begin digging deep beneath the surface of the wound. Absolutely. So the first one of the pictures I put earlier on, when I said what are emotional wounds, I deliberately put the picture of a fig leaf, the fig tree and its fruits, because I remember a lady I was speaking with years ago, and it was the same thing. I mean, doing very well, lots of accomplishments, but it just wasn't enough. Money was not the problem. Everything seemed to be there. But what did she say? I said, well, it looks like we're just covering everything up with fig leaves. Beauty was not a problem, she said, because the fig leaves have now become foliage. So it's not the fig leaves that matter. It's not the foliage that matters. It's the diamond beneath. So if it wasn't for the people's voices, like what's that question, the things that we've heard, how do we see ourselves? And that's another thing we need to, that's helpful. Just taking time to daydream and asking that, what's the best version of me? Not me with all the things I've heard, all the wounds. Is it me walking freely? If you had a wound and you had crutches, what would you be looking forward to? No crutches, walking free, dancing. So giving ourselves permission to dream is so important. And neuroscience is also appreciating that more and more. They talk about, I don't want to use scientific terms, the default mode network and people being more creative with daydreaming. The best inventions were found when people were daydreaming. So finding ourselves is also letting go of anybody's opinion and just sitting there. What would the best version of me be? If there was nothing holding me back, like the litmus test question, who would I be? But one more step to that, write it down. Writing crystallizes things. As you're writing it, your mind is taking it in and doing it over and over again. That best version of you, regardless of any apparent limitation. Any other questions?
Yeah, next question. What do you have to tell someone who feels a constant need for approval from their loved one, but the loved one is emotionally detached in the relationship?
Truth is, you can't change other people. Sometimes what you have to acknowledge is that other people need help. But while they're not getting that help, you be the best version of you. Don't reject yourself because someone is not available. And what we might find is when we're now the best version of ourselves, when we embrace acceptance, we're self-accepting, celebrating ourselves, kind to ourselves, it challenges other people. I was home recently and I'm divorced. And my mom's friend was talking to a friend on the phone and said, oh, Wonu is here, blah, blah. And anyway, they said, oh, how's your husband? I said, oh, mommy, no, there's no husband. There's not been one for years. And they thought, and she was going like, don't say that, don't say that. And no, it's the truth. It's the truth. That's what it is. I'm not ashamed of where I find myself. It's not what I planned. Yes, marriage is a beautiful thing. It doesn't mean, but being single is beautiful as well, I would say. That's, so it's wherever we find ourselves, accept, not self-rejecting. It's not the things around us that define our worth. A diamond might find himself in a child's hand or might even be on the floor. Does it change the diamond? No. So let's appreciate the value, the God-given inherent value that we hold, and give ourselves permission to shine. But sometimes when we're focused on what the world is saying, the fig leaves will stay and become foliage and the diamond is buried.
I'll just read a few more comments. We need the reminder to check in on ourselves to identify the root cause of any negative manifestation in order to identify a resolution. After recognizing the pattern, you have to be intentional about breaking that pattern and doing differently to it. Without the intentionality to heal an emotional wound, imagine the damage being caused to the person and to everyone in their orbits. Okay. The lives being robbed, the destinies being compromised and truncated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So intentionality, accountability. And if we keep looking at it as a physical wound, depending on the kind of injury, sometimes what do you need? Somebody to hold your hand so you can walk again. But what the world does is it causes us to shrink and to self-reject. And when we're in safe spaces, we're able to get the support to sit together again and then gradually stand. And then when we now find our feet are stronger, we can start strolling. And then you can start soaring. But the thing is, I always look at life in 3 stages. First, we need to survive. And in the surviving is being together before we can even think of maybe our gifts and talents flourishing. So depending on the wound, and because they're invisible wounds, it can be hard. It's being there for one another, holding hands. And also recognizing that anybody's behavior, okay, maybe you haven't heard from someone for a long time. Why are they behaving like this? You don't know what's going on. So any behavior we find unusual, let's just kind of reach out with compassion. And I want to say thank you to Sister Tokwe at this point, because there's beginning of every month, she sends a message unfailingly. And sometimes we share messages and people may not respond. I've had people where they've called me like 5 years and said, what you put on Facebook? And I'm like, when? I can't even remember. So sharing things, being there for one another, and safe spaces like this where we can talk openly. And let's remember as well, shame loses its power when we spill it out. The power is in the secrecy. Woo! She said she's been sending it for 19 years unfailingly. Wow.
60 take away 19.
You're doing the calculations for her. Oh, thank you so much. Honestly. Wow. So it's that being there, just knowing that sometimes people may not talk, but just because of something you said or something you shared, that's what's holding them. And at the right time, they will talk. Or even if they don't talk, they will reach out for help. Or that might just even help them reflect and then starting their own journey to healing instead of shrinking. But let's just remember, we can see people standing, everything looking glam, but inside they're crouching in a corner. That inner man is crouching in a corner thinking, I'm smiling with you, but I'm sorry, I really don't want to engage. I can't because of fear. So thank you.
I'm going to read this one. I think it's just validating what you have just said.
Right.
The world constantly tells us that self-love, self-acceptance, self-kindness, self-compassion are selfish traits, but they're not. You have agency. Hold on to your power. Revoke the tacit permission you've been given the world to tell you who you should show up as so that you can live authentically and purposefully.
Yeah, exactly. If we're not kind to ourselves, why should anybody be kind to us? Because the way we treat ourselves, like, give people permission for the way they treat us. So say, for instance, at work, they know that, oh, she never says no, she will stay the extra hours. Of course, if there's anything to dump on anybody, who will they dump it on? But saying no, culturally, it might be like, oh, that's wrong. Maybe because of the way we've been brought up, or because anytime we said yes as a child was when we received validation. Oh, that's when we got recognized. So we now find it easier to say yes, because saying no is like, oh, you are lazy, you are this. And we carry that on to adulthood. And then at the workplace, even when people are burning out, they're still saying yes, yes, yes. That programming, so is identify, where did it start from? That programming needs to change. And it might be difficult initially, but then the more you do it, the more you loosen the loop and you're setting yourself free from that emotional bondage. So emotional freedom is a journey. Exercising those skills, the more you do it, the better it gets. And then you actually feel good. You start revealing your own self-worth. And you know what happens in that work scenario, for instance? They know they would respect you. You get more respect because they know that, yeah, you will do your work, but it's not the abusive portion. They won't bring it near you. You're not being nasty. You're just saying, no, this is not healthy. Oh, thank you, Sister Tokwe. Thank you so much. And honestly, you've been a blessing. Thank you. Oh, not even being, you are. I'm grateful. Yeah. So please, thank you again, Pastor Bumi, for our safe spaces like this. It's important. And let's never let anybody's opinion. One of the questions we always ask is, who is spending your life? You know, this morning, again, I looked in my cupboard. I always do that from time to time. And I looked at the different jars, all at different levels. Pesto was at the jar. I thought, at one point, all of this will expire just like our lives. Every day draws us nearer the end. We may not be able to do anything about the past, but what's left? The treasure that's left, what are we going to do with it? And we're the only ones who can give ourselves permission. So let's remember, it's important to let our light shine. We are the only ones who can give ourselves permission. And as we guard our minds above everything else, it determines the course of our lives. I mean, I could carry on with lots and lots of stories. People who were in prison for almost 40 years. I don't know if anybody knows the story of Archie Williams. There are lots of stories. If you guard your heart, no matter what's happening around you, after a while, you'll sail through. I mean, it's Nelson Mandela. Stories abound. It's not what's happening around us that will determine who we are. We may not be able to do anything about it, but there are times we can also do things about it. But it always starts from the core. Guarding our hearts, it determines the course of our lives. And thank you for all the encouraging comments. I am grateful, very much appreciated. Thank you.
Please, if you have any more question, you can put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and ask. So if you want to contribute as well, we're all learning together.
I want to quickly check up the
contribution.
The therapist information.
Yes, please, if you can put that on.
If I don't put it, I'll send it to you as soon as I finish. Because I know
if people want to engage with you more, maybe your social media pages, or do you have anywhere people can follow you? I know your Freedom Talks.
Yeah.
But your Freedom Talks online as well.
Yeah, there's Freedom Talks online and there's One Walla Life.
You can put that there. Again, any question from anyone or any contribution? Okay, thank you for an amazing session with sincerity and openness. Very enlightening session. Amazing session. So just saying thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you for taking the time to come. And the reason I say thank you as well is it's not just for us. It's also for the future generation. Because when we do the right things now, when we identify the patterns and break the chains, guess what? Whether it's a curse they're calling it, whatever it is, the pattern is broken. And the future generation can be healthier. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So any more question before we bring this to a close? Okay, I've got one person. Yes, please unmute yourself and ask a question. I've asked you to unmute, except maybe you're just saying thank you. You've got
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I thank you for a wonderful session. Just a little addition. I know when I first got divorced, oh my God, I used to be so shy and I wouldn't tell anyone. If they say, oh, how's your husband? I'll say, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Until I spoke to one of my aunties and she said she would slap me if I was the first to divorce and everything. And so immediately, after then, when somebody now asks, oh, how's your husband? After, oh, no more. I had that peace and freedom, like you said, so now I'll be the first to say, even if you don't ask. I'm like, it took me years to even say that word, but there's freedom in speaking. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And that's what it is with anything. If we're holding things back because of shame, that's the chain of shame, because of cultural expectations. So it's holding us bound. But the minute you say it, what does anybody want to do about it? I mean, like what you described, somebody saw me in Asda a few years ago, and we hadn't seen each other since my wedding. How many years before that? 18 years. She said, oh, hello, my sister. How are you? How's my brother? I said, oh, I'm fine, but your brother and I are no longer together. She said, I'm so sorry. I said, no, there's nothing to be sorry about. It is what it is. Yeah. It doesn't change the value God has placed in you. And it's not just in marriage, it could be with anything. It could be, you know what? I had a job, it was very good before, and I don't have it anymore. But you know what? I don't know what God has in store. It's not the things that happen around us that define our identity. If we did not exist, can we even get married? If we did not exist, can we go to uni? If we did not exist, can we get a job? So it's because of the value we have that we can even do anything. And that's the value, that life that we have to preserve. The people who have passed on, are they counting how many accolades or what the world is saying? And this world is rolling fast every day. We're already at the end of January. So please, let's just look after ourselves and treasure our lives. And the only way to treasure our lives, well, is guarding our minds. Guarding our minds above all else. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for sharing that. Anybody else? Okay, people are saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just trying to. If you have a question, please just unmute yourself. Okay, I've seen your hand. Yes, please go on.
Thank you so much, Ma, for this very good talk you've given us. So me, I like asking some very difficult questions because I've got people around me who I talk to. So in a situation where you said give yourself permission to be who you want to be, if a woman is in like a difficult marriage and she doesn't want to divorce, no matter what has been advice that has been given, she still doesn't want to, but her dreams and everything she wants to achieve in life, she can't because her husband is not giving her permission. What do you say to that kind of a sister? What do you say to that kind of a friend?
The first thing I would say is divorce is not the solution to every marital difficulty. The most important thing in anything is safety. So a marriage can be difficult, and one of the people I like reading her books is Leslie Vernick. A marriage can be difficult. In fact, there's another thing that somebody shared was Olumide Emmanuel. I don't know if you saw it, Pastor. Yeah. Fantastic. A marriage can be difficult. Doesn't mean that it has to go through divorce. It can be disappointing. It doesn't mean it has to go through divorce. So the divorce is not the solution to every marital problem. And sometimes some marriages that could be salvaged have actually ended up in divorce. So it's not every year. And if it's a woman's choice to stay, that's absolutely fine. The most important thing is safety. And safety is physical, mental, emotional, financial, in every way. Because you don't want to be in a scenario where you leave and you lose your mind, or you stay and you lose your mind. So it's unique for each person. So in the scenario where someone then decides to stay and you're thinking, okay, this environment is not allowing me to be all that I want to be. How much of what you want to be can you do in that environment while things improve? Because you may be planning, for instance, to go for relational therapy or marriage counseling. So at that point in time, you may not be able to do as much as you want to, but what can you do? Could you be writing about it? So measure what you can do and keep at it. What makes anything thrive, any idea? And I mean, the discussion, of course, is open to the house, is the consistency. Anything that we do well at, you'll find out that it's because we do it repeatedly. So start with the little you can do and keep doing it. Even if it is just writing your dreams and learning about what you want to do, you're setting the foundation. But I would say don't, because of your choice to stay, do nothing if it's what's burning inside you to do, that you're thinking this is what will be the best version of me. This is who I'm called to be. What can you do whilst the environment is not as conducive as you want it to be? If you're going out and you were planning for it to be a sunny day and it starts raining, what do? Or if there's a diversion on the road, you don't say, I'm not going again. What's the other route? So it's staying focused on it in spite of the situation, staying stay safe, kind to yourself, keeping your joy. The environment might not be as perfect as I want it to be. That's fine. I'd rather be here than leave. That's fine. And I want to keep this dream. That's fine. So what can I do and do it consistently? Did that make sense?
I'm sure it did.
Okay.
I've got one more question. Hello, please, can you record? Oh, it's also a therapist for a young man or teenager who needs to heal from family-inflicted trauma, parent to child. Situation has changed, but he's not open to healing. He has buried the hurts. main parent is kinder now, but will not address or acknowledge his anger and other issues.
Yeah, and that can be, I'm sorry to hear that that can really be a challenge where it's family issues and young people, because the impact varies on every child. The thing, though, as well, is the child has to be willing to attend the therapy session when a therapist is identified. Well, to get the child to attend, don't focus on the therapy first. Keep that in mind, because the child's not going to go. There's nothing you can do. They can even get to the therapist and not engage. So put it this way, they say people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Most important is to let the child know that the child is loved. I care about you. I know you're hurting. Validating it's not been an easy time. I mean, like I said, I'm divorced. I've got 3 children. The impact, I can't, for their own sake, I don't have their permission to talk. I'm not going to discuss, but I mean, thank God everything's going okay. But I know the impact it's had has been different for every child because they were at different stages. So the most important thing is for the parent who's available, if both parents are still available for the child, to let the child know that his feelings are respected. It's not been an easy situation. It's not what we planned it to be. I'm sorry, you're the one who's bearing the impact of this. Just hearing the fact that parents respect my feelings, it makes a world of difference. It's that saying again, people don't care how much you know. You might know the best surgeon. Somebody has a dental appointment, they have back toothache. If they don't feel the dentist cares, they're not going to put their mouth down, even though they're in pain. So just letting the child know you care about the feelings, the difficulties, the disruption, and even when the behavior is not what you expect, the child is angry. So you just have to hold your peace and be there. And we can look at resources on that as well. It's an issue that's quite rife. It's different. You might find a different reaction, especially for male children than for female, and even for female, different behaviors as well. But being there, because what's happened to that child is a child who has felt safe and secure, all of a sudden is like that security is shattered. You now don't feel safe again. And the people that you trusted for the safety, as it were, are the ones who've shattered it. So what do you do? And sometimes they also blame themselves. It's not uncommon. But being there, being consistent in spite of the child's behavior, just letting the child know you care. And sometimes the caring is even just being silent, not getting angry. And after that, just say, make food, make the child's favorite food, do whatever shows you care without talking too much. Listen, love, and lead is what I call it. And listening can be in action. The child knows that you care because of what you're doing and validating the child's emotions. I hope that makes sense as well.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Just a reminder to share the therapist details. Someone's just and your social media contact so that people can follow you online as well. Any other question from anyone?
There's some free resources on the website, and I'm in the process of loading some more. So it will address issues like the impact of parental separation on children. That's a big one, even in clinic. And you will get scenarios where people will say, oh, child is not concentrating in class, is ADHD, it is anxiety disorder. And then by the time you talk one-on-one with the child, you find out that it's everything that's happening at home. If someone's not happy, how will they concentrate? Yeah.
So I'll just call it out for the benefit of others. It's www.freedomtalks.life. Freedom Talks, TALKS.life.
Life as in our life, because there's another website.
Yeah.
There's
LIFE.
Yeah. F for freedom. Yeah. So LIFE means living in freedom every day.
Really good.
Mhm.
In freedom every day.
Yeah.
Any other question? Addition?
I'll put, it's the
Yeah.
other, the two psychologists that I was going to put their therapist.
Yes, please.
I'll just quickly put Oasis. Then there's another one.
While we're waiting for Dr. Wonu on that, if we can just all just use our reaction buttons to just say thank you. And next year, please, sorry, did I say next year? Sorry. Next month, it's self-love, love, love, love. You're going to
Whoa.
have to love yourselves for next month. And obviously, like I always say, if you've got a topic, please email passthebaton@yahoo.com. If you've got a topic you feel that you want us to showcase, you want us to talk about, please email passthebaton@yahoo.com. Okay, that's OAC's psychologicalservices.co.uk.
Then there's Walk With Me therapy. That's the one I was looking for as well.
Work with me therapy. For all the links, please just look through, or if somebody has actually invited you, another way is you can tell them to send you. I would always send out, should I say, a mini guide after the session. Just tell the person to please kindly send that to you. I would put all of this there. That way as well, you can have it. So it's www.walkwithmetherapy.co.uk.
Yeah.
Honorable Olivia says awesome presentation. Well done, Dr. Wonu. She
Thank
just told me
you,
that she knows you.
Honorable.
Thank
We've
you.
come a long way. I've
Yeah,
known her for
she
years.
did mention to me yesterday. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think we've come to the end of this session for the month of January 2026 is our first one, and we really want to appreciate you. Thank you so much, Dr. Wonu. This has been really good. I'm going to leave everyone with this. I'm a woman of faith, and I always say that I can't but share a little bit of peace with you guys at the end of it all. And it's Isaiah 41, verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I'm your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, and I'll uphold you with my righteous right hand. So do not fear, do not fret, do not be afraid. You've got God on your side. He has made you beautifully well. He has made you wonderfully well. And please, I always say, do not do life alone. I think it's so important. It's so key. Do not do life alone. You have people around you, you have community around you. You just need to look out and grab one person. Obviously, do your homework, do your research. But I always say that there are fantastic women out there. You just need to meet them. I'm telling you, they are if one has betrayed you, don't look at it that that's the whole world. No, everyone has been betrayed one way or the other. You just need to dump that person, and maybe they may not even be a bad person. Maybe they're just in the process of their own life. They're not there yet. So it could be that maybe by 3-4 years time they'll probably be in their own best version and meet somebody else. But reach out again. There's somebody else that is waiting for you, that has been created beautifully for you. You just need to look for that person and, take hold of that person and continue to do life together. So please, please do not do life alone. Do not just drown in your own thoughts. There are lots of people out there that you can talk to. So we're going to end tonight. We appreciate you, Dr. Wonu, again. Thank you so much. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for excellence. Thank you for connecting. And I always say to our speakers, it's your first time here today, but please, you are a member. Every month you will start to get things. Please, anytime, we know sometimes people are not free to join, but anytime you're free, please do join us. We love to share ideas together. We love to talk together. Nobody knows it all. And it's always a joy to see other women on the platform. And for the month of February, like I said, if anybody has given you the link, do ask them again that you want to be a part of Pastor Baton. And yes, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy it so much. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you,